How can we make a street more circular? In particular, what changes are needed to improve the phosphate cycle? We look at the street because it is the smallest building block of a city. And we look at phosphate, this will be a scarce resource in several decades when mining reaches exhaustion. We begin with a simple material flow analysis of the phosphate in the street. In this case, we only look at the flow paths and not so much at the exact volumes and weights of the flow. Phosphates entered the street mostly in the form of food. Phosphate is an important fertilizer and as such is an element that is present in almost all food supplies. The outflow of phosphate is more uniform, namely in the form of excreta from the human digestion system. More cute words, poop and pee. In water-driven sanitation system, the excreta end up in a toilet bowl and are flushed into the sewer system. In the sewer system, water from various sources and uses is also collected. In fact, you could say that the flow with the phosphate gets diluted. Street level, rainwater, or seepage of groundwater may further dilute the wastewater. The end result is a very watery flow with all kinds of contaminants that are picked up in addition to the phosphate, and which is leaving the street boundaries. The flow can be treated and phosphate retrieved with considerable costs and effort. End of story, you could say. Well, not for us. What are possible improvements? You first have to realize that the volume and the composition of the sewer water determines the possibility of retrieving the phosphate. The larger the volume and thus the more diluted the phosphate, the more difficult it is to retrieve the phosphate. This, by the way, holds also true for almost every flow that you want to treat. The present situation is the result of a linear approach in which comfort, safety and health are the main drivers. Treatment aims to create an effluent that may be discharged into the environment without negatively affecting these comfort, safety and health requirements. The paradigm shift for a circular approach is to change the composition of the wastewater in such a way that recovery of phosphate is more easily facilitated. As said, it's easier to recover phosphate from a concentrated flow than from a more diluted flow. The concentration now can be reached in two ways. First is to take out water or to prevent water from entering the system, and second, to get more material in. In short, water out, shit in. Water out means using less drinking water. For instance, using a toilet that only uses 1 liter per flush, or a washing machine that uses less water. For example, using front loaders instead of top loaders. Or develop a shower that uses less water, or divert relatively clean water to the surface instead of into the sewer. Shit in means adding material, for instance kitchen waste, without adding water of course, or get dock droppings into the sewer system instead of in plastic bags and containers. Another very important step is to redesign the collection system in such a way that seepage and misconnections for rainwater are avoided, because they are the largest source for dilution in the sewer system. All these steps require a rethinking of the system. How to design a toilet that uses only 1 liter per flush. How to persuade people to buy the right equipment, such as a front loader washing machine instead of a top loader. And very important, how to make a new sewer system. Also think of the consequences for other stakeholders, such as the drinking water companies. Their turnover in cubic meters will decrease, while the drinking water system needs to stay reliable. Becoming circular or improving circularity is complicated, as this example of phosphate circularity shows. At home and street level, changes have to be made that do not obviously relate to the increased circularity, like selling different washing machines or changing the sewer system. Also, system boundaries are difficult to define and consider. But using a catchy slogan like water out, shit in may serve as a good umbrella to bring various stakeholders on the same track, improving the phosphate cycle.